Michelle Pope.
All right, here we go. It's 8 o'clock on Friday morning. Welcome, welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey. I am your host, Michelle Pope, and every week we come together to talk about things that relate to Alzheimer's and dementia, caregiving, and then just life. That's the stuff that, we really like, we love. We have a community of friends that join us every single week and who have written books and all of that. I will tell you, we have pre-taped for when I'm out of town later in the month of April, a conversation with Carolyn Brent. You're going to be intrigued by it. So, we just really try to bring folks to the platform, and they asked to come to share their life story. So that's why we call it Life is a Sacred Journey. But then we have these wonderful opportunities like this morning. Here at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, we have partnered with a program titled Connected Horse. I've told you about them. Paula Hertel and Nancy Schier Anzelmo, and I hope I said it right. I'll ask them both to pronounce their names. Are two incredible human beings who have worked with a lot of volunteers and a lot of individuals to bring this wonderful program where horses and people connect. It is also, when I say people, all people living and thriving in the world of dementia. And I've been there and been a part of it. Jade hit me to come in when we did it together. And so I'm actually going to start to admit them. I hope I did that right. Yes, I did. See, every day. Friends, every week that we do this, I get better and better. You won't believe that I've done this for however many years. But I know that this program is a program that you're going to want to be connected with, either as a donor or a supporter, or if you are a caregiver that is out there that has a loved one. And I always say coping with dementia, because I think our language is so negative around the way we experience life. I'm old enough to know that there are good and bad times in life, and there are things that happen. But if we can really elevate ourselves, and I think that's what Connected Horse does. I want to tell you that I looked up some stuff. Okay, how I am. I'm a researcher.
You're a good student.
I'm a good student. So horses are family oriented. They can read human emotions. I learned that when I was a part of the program one weekend. They can show emotion. I also learned that when I looked in the horse's eyes, it was an incredible experience for me. It was like looking in my granddaughter's eyes. They talk to you with that intensity into my soul. They can literally impact the human heart. I experienced that as well. And that humans, now, as a pastor, I know this, as a lay pastor, I know this. Humans have been a part of the story of humanity since the beginning of time. And they have partnered with humans in order so they could survive in the fields and getting from two to four. That's how we got our mail, folks. Okay. Yeah. So I am so excited to, and please correct me, my sibling friends, if I pronounce your last names wrong. I just said to my audience, I think I did. So please correct me when you come on. It's Paula Hertel, because I know Paula, and I know Nancy, and it's Nancy Schier Anzelmo.
Schier Anzelmo.
Say it one more time from my ear.
Schier Anzelmo.
Anzelmo. Okay, Schier Anzelmo. See, this is something, my friends. You know what? I was somewhere, Nancy and Paula, where I was with my Polynesian siblings, and we were trying to learn their names, okay? And there was a person among us who said, "Oh, these names are just too hard to pronounce." And I had to look at this wonderful human being and creation of the universe and say, no, we have an obligation to learn. We have an obligation to learn, and we have an obligation to ask, how do you say that? It doesn't mean that you're being rude. You're being rude when you just said what you said. So Nancy and Paula, welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey. It is my privilege. I know you both, and I know your program very, oh my gosh, it lives in my heart from the very moment that I became connected with it. But I want you to talk more about how it started, why you're connected with it, and just this incredible experience and how people can become engaged and involved, whether it's from supporting as donors, because I know you're a nonprofit and you need that support, but also if you are a family, caregiver, and friends. Remember, when I say family, I'm not always talking about biological family, because I have a chosen family that is just as large as my biological family. So when I say family, I mean the people who are spiritually connected to you, and help you make it through this life journey. So welcome to both of you, Nancy, Paula. Thank you so much for getting up this early and joining us for Life is a Sacred Journey. So tell us about Connected Horse. Why
Well,
not?
thank you,
Whoever
Michelle.
wants to start first. Yeah.
You'll have to tell us, okay, be quiet, because it is really our passion project. So once you let us get going,
Go.
be careful. I will tell you that, we got started with Connected Horse because I think Nancy and I were both searching for our own meaning and passion. I mean, we're in this world to really create an impact and be connected on deeper levels. And we found ourselves with our talents and our professionalism of doing good work, but wanting to do really deep, passionate work. And Nancy and I could tell you story after story of our own interactions with horses and what they've done for us in our lives, and our own connections to older adults, both and people living with dementia. And we got together with some colleagues and said, look, we got to mix things up. Like, let's be a little bit of a disruptor. And what can we do? And we knew the power of horses, and we knew the work that was being done with different populations. So children with disabilities, women with trauma. And we saw that power, and we said, there's no reason that we can't look at a program for older adults and people living with memory loss and dementia. But knowing us, and you sort of kicked it off right, did our research. We're like, we want to do our research. And so we went to the Alzheimer's Association and asked who's the best researcher around that could help us with this. And it happened to be Dolores Gallagher Thompson. And how the universe works. We also had a colleague who worked at the Red Barn at Stanford doing work with the business school. So we asked and said, what do you think about doing a research project looking at both people living with dementia and their care partners together? And that was a really important tenet for us. It's like, this is not a solo journey. This is not a diagnosis that happens to one person. This is a diagnosis that's given to one person and impacts their whole family support system. So we went there with optimism and grit and said, let's do some research and make sure that what we have in our heart and what we think in our mind is true. And got it through all of the IRBs and lawyers. And when the lawyers came and said, what, you want to do that? You want to put older adults and people with a dementia diagnosis next to horses? And we said, yes. And he was the lawyer. Their horses happened to be under the athletic department. We're like, you put football players out there, hitting each other. This is much safer. And they signed off on it. So we took that as a sign we're moving in the right direction. And it was an amazing experience. And we went to replicate it at UC Davis. And again, just this wonderful opportunity for meeting, this happened to be women, but people in this world that, like, we want to make a difference. We want to do something different. We don't want to just look at pharmacological approaches to illness, in this case, dementia. This is about helping people. And UC Davis has a motto in their Center for Equine Health that if it's good for the world, good for people, and good for horses, it's good for us. And so Connected Horse checked all those boxes.
I love that.
Yeah. and we can get into the stories, but after, we're not researchers by profession. And so after that sort of slow process that really showed the benefits to the person who had memory loss, the person who was identified as the care partner, and I think even most importantly to their relationship, like what did this do to people that are connected on this journey together? We said, okay, we're done with 2.5 years of research. Let's get out in the community and make this happen. And so now we're in barns in Northern California and Nevada doing this work. And we'll talk later about what we do with Alzheimer's Services at the East Bay that was sort of born out of our desire to keep connected, even when someone can't get to the barn.
Yes.
And may I add, Michelle, since
Yes,
you have researched so much, one really amazing fact is, after you get the research results, which were very positive, and we knew it was going to work, but we wanted the data obviously behind it. They said, well, how long does it last? Can you do a booster session, right? So we had people come back within 6 months, and we're so proud to say 100% of the people at UC Davis came back 6 months later to do the program again. And I think that's pretty astounding in research, because that doesn't happen very often, and it makes the researchers stop and pause. What is this magic? What's going on here? And how does this help people on this journey?
Well, and I love the way you said that, magic, because I live in a land of words, and I'm constantly trying to manifest a positive energy, even here at ASAB, with our participants, and our family at Life is a Sacred Journey actually has heard about Connected Horse, because the weekend that I was there, I came away extremely changed. And it took me back, as I said to my family here, the Life is a Sacred Journey family. I was a Girl Scout. I grew up in urban areas, New York, Boston, and I was a Girl Scout. And the one thing that I loved every year, every summer, that I could look forward to was being sent out of the city into 1 year a farm where they had horses and all kinds of animals. I've always been a person connected to animals, why I rescue dogs, and yeah. But anyway, that moment that I was there with some folks that I knew some of the folks that were there at Connected Horse that weekend, but I myself didn't realize maybe I was carrying a little bit of hurt and pain from something that maybe had happened the week before. But when I looked into that horse's eyes, I'm going to do it again, and saw the emotion and the connection where that horse had never met me before, doesn't know me from a can of paint, and the connection of heart to heart was so. It just filled me so much so that I had to walk away for a minute just to collect myself, because it wasn't bad emotion. So folks, don't get it twisted. It wasn't all, I wasn't upset. It was more of, I was sharing almost something that I didn't even know that was, am I making sense?
Yes.
Yeah, you were seen. You were seen in a very nonverbal way, right? Like it's just a quiet connection.
Yeah. So Nancy, I'm going to ask you, have you seen that? And when you see that as an observer, what does that bubble up for you?
Oh, we've seen it numerous times, and what we see is healing, and the heart's open, it's healing, and the horse just holds it for us, and they just say it's okay, because they don't judge you, they don't know you, they never met you, they just want to be in relationship with you. And it's such a powerful, profound moment, because it's nonverbal, and we're so reliant on the verbal words all the time. And the horse doesn't need those words. They just need your heart to be open. And then they carry that for you and help you tell our participants, it's going to be okay. You're going to make it on this journey, and you're going to remember this moment to reflect back on, and those times get hard.
And I know that Paula spoke about the fact that it's a partnership between the care partner and the program participant. and each of them come with a different and unique need, right?
Yeah,
So, and you're
absolutely.
speaking to the nonverbal, why we went to Montessori here, because we use less words to communicate ideas, thoughts, and direction. And then with the caregiver, it's a stress, it's like that movie Waiting to Exhale,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
horse kind of promotes that. So can you, I'll start with you, Paula. Can you go into that a little bit and share that sort of duality of experience, but it is a little different for each individual.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I think the hardest thing for our volunteers and our facilitators is to recognize that in our day-to-day world, we're like, okay, here's the outcome that we want, and here's the steps we're gonna get there. And what this program, in particular, the horses teach us is that process of just letting go and being in the moment. So even though Nancy and I have been doing this since 2015, every interaction is different,
Yeah.
right? And if you and how special is that for us to come in and just say what is and what will be. And we talk about being with our participants, being with our horses, and just trusting that that process will unfold just the way it needs to.
Mm-hmm.
So we have here's the list of exercises that we're going to do today. Sometimes we get through them, sometimes we don't. And sometimes we go a totally different direction because we've stopped and we're listening to what needs to happen with the horses and what needs to happen with the group. And
Mm-hmm.
if you do that as human beings, those roles of I'm a facilitator, I'm a caregiver, I'm a person that's been labeled with this diagnosis, I'm I'm this horse that's supposed to be doing that, all of that kind of melts away. And that just connection of what unfolds. And it's different for everybody. I think sometimes it's harder for the care partner to let go of their role because they're holding it so tight. And oftentimes they come to the program with, I'm coming here to keep my loved one safe, or I'm coming here because I want to try to fix them because something is wrong. And very quickly, those sort of expectations fall away. I was thinking that, like, some of it is so simple, Michelle, like you were talking about your history of summer camps and being with animals and out in nature. One of the early questions that we ask in the group is, what do you think about when you think about a horse? Which seems like a really simple question, but it drops people into this emotional memory that's deep inside of them. And all of a sudden, the current roles and the tasks of the day sort of start to filter away, and people get centered into their senses and into these memories. And sometimes it's a memory of, oh, I remember being in the Grand Canyon and this mule threw me off, and so sometimes, but it's these emotions, right? Neither good nor bad. It's just, it teaches our body to get in touch with those emotions that are deep inside of us. And that's where the connection with the horse starts. And we work, the pace is very slow. The
Yes.
words are very minimal. And it's just the exercises that we do aren't about teaching horsemanship. They're just tools and prompts that
Connection.
help people feel connected to the horse.
Mhm.
But truthfully, if you just go up and stand next to a horse and take some deep breaths and get connected, the same thing will happen, right? So we use our exercises to help facilitate that. But the horse is our teacher. We
Yes.
say that over and over again.
Yes. So Nancy, there's always a business side to everything, and I know that the orientation happens. Can you kind of outline the program? Where do and tell us, how do people connect? And I know that it's more than one weekend. It's not just a one-up program. And then
Yeah.
you talked about, Paula talked about earlier that people come back after a period of time, so we can, see the metamorphosis of the experience. And so would you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, Michelle. Our research was based on a 15-hour intervention, so to speak. And so that is where we kind of started from, but we knew that a lot of people couldn't give 15 hours, and we thought the 3 consecutive weeks is really the magic time for building these skills, building relationship between the pair, repairing that, and having 3 weeks. And that is important. So it's basically about a 2.5 to 3 hour session, depending on how talkative the group is, for 3 consecutive weeks. And that's important because we've tried to do 2 weeks to accommodate schedules. And we don't see that last week really solidifies the tools that they need to take on the journey. And so we go out and we tell people hear about us on the internet or stories like yours. So thank you for having us on your show. And we reach out and get families that are in need, newly diagnosed, usually within 2 years approximately. And but not always, but around that time when they're really needing some help along this journey. And then they reach out to us through the help of social media, of course, and marketing and our team on the ground, and find out about the barns that are close by. We're trying to expand to other barns. So we have facilitator training at our partner barn in Minden, Nevada, which is coming up next month, where people are able to come in and spend 2 days in an introductory workshop with us of how to start to be a facilitator for this program.
Okay.
And so they're able to do that, and they reach out with partner barns. There's someone I'm going to speak to today who is trying to find us a barn in the St. Louis area because she's so excited about our program because she had this on this journey with her mom. So a lot of people come to us that way. Women like us in this time of life where we really want to make an impact and do something different for the world and help the world. So yes, it is a business. It's nonprofit. We don't charge our participants, but we're always trying to get grants and raise money and have a fundraiser and everything else. Because our dream, Michelle, is to have this program everywhere, rural and in the city and in urban areas, where they get the diagnosis and they say, I want something different. I want a non-pharmacological approach, because we're so quick to throw out a medication. And then the person, doesn't really have that time that Paula and I describe as really getting people activated. It's activation after going through the workshop, and they get activated and they start doing stuff on their own and self-determined actions so that they're able, we're both gerontologists, so we know this is important, that you have to have self-determination and activation for people to age well with longevity, no matter what their diagnosis is. But stop living as the person with the diagnosis, but living as that person again. And so that's what we're doing, looking for the right facilitators to help us in these barns. There are people that love horses, but some people that don't, maybe some folks that have other backgrounds that really want to do something impactful, but somehow they're touched by someone in their family. And with the statistics that we have now, it's touching everyone in this country
Yes.
and worldwide.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that you're talking specifically about the fact that this is and I consider what I do here at ASEB a labor of love. If I truly wanted the big mansion and all the stuff that CEOs of large corporations have, I'm not putting them down, that's what they do, that they benefit from that title, then I would be there. But I believe in passion and purpose.
Yes.
And when you marry them together, then what happens is you have a program like Connected Horse where people are seen. That's what I saw in the volunteers that were there the day, because I'm very big on the people that are in the program here at ASEB that are caring, that are right there with individuals. So it takes a lot to get hired here. And so I wanted to ask the question about how do you spoke a little bit about the volunteers, and Paula or Nancy, you can respond, or both. How do you work with the volunteers too? Because I know sometimes people come with big hearts here, but the moment they're in the program, I can see that they need more training on the fact that we are not a program that speaks to the disability, that we speak to the strength.
Either are we.
And that we're not a program that constantly is chattering at the person throwing material in front of them just for the sake of keeping them busy when we know sometimes people need that quiet. So can you talk about the training of your volunteers?
Yeah, I love that. Just we
Mhm.
are in such a busy world, and we rely on our words so much to communicate.
Yeah.
And so like for our volunteers, it's like come with your own beauty and your own strengths, and don't come to fix, come to be. And so part of our process is to talk to people what motivates them to want to volunteer, because we are a volunteer organization, and so we rely on volunteers. We don't want to charge for our programs because we want the access to be as broad as possible. And when you start charging for things, it shrinks who feels like that they can
Mhm.
come.
Yes.
So we really do need our volunteers, and we value them. And Nancy and I actually work as volunteers
Mhm.
in all of this to walk the talk. Um, and it really is about screening, like what is motivating you to volunteer? What do you want? And how do you want to be in this program? And the interesting thing, Michelle, is that in the beginning, we're like, we don't want to tell you anything about horses. We don't want to tell you anything about what aging looks like. We don't want to tell you anything about this diagnosis called dementia, because then you're going to label people. But what we realized a couple years in is that we create fear if we don't give a little bit.
Yeah.
And so we've got to the point where we give a little bit of understanding, not to label. This is the art, not the science of it, right? To
Yep.
give a little bit of information, not to label, not to have someone feel like they're an expert, but to reduce the fear and to create the confidence that people can come and connect. And so there's a few sort of tenets, of course, in our program. Safety is number one, but it's not in your face, right? And so
Yeah, yeah.
we
Oh.
learn how to hold space for people in a very neutral way and hold safety. So we try never to say no. We try to use our body and our, see, look at you smiling.
Yes,
We use,
she
I
knows.
just
that's why
love
we're
it.
connected. We use
You know.
our body and our environment to create these failure-free experiences that allow people to get what they need, and the volunteers. And so when you
Get
go
a
around,
lot.
we
Mhm.
always debrief after each workshop, and we say, how was that for you? Anything that we could have done to help you feel more engaged? And everyone always says, I think I get more out of this than the participants, and so it's not because they're doing to somebody or fixing someone. It's their own, like you talked about it at the beginning, like it touches your heart in a way, not to fix you or not to make you an expert, but just that you feel like, what does it feel like to be in a place with a group of people with these beautiful horses, and feel purposeful and fulfilled. And so we're looking for volunteers that appreciate that, because it's deep work and it's
That's
vulnerable
deep.
work. And
Mhm.
Yes.
so not everyone um, is in that place that wants to do that work, but there are a lot of people that are really looking for that work. And I will say, one of the things we talk a lot about the horses, because they really are the core. But the sort of secondary piece of our workshop that's really powerful, and I'm sure you see this at ASAB all the time, is group process.
Yeah.
And so we have anywhere from 6 to, our largest group has been 12 people, participants that come. And after every exercise, we have a conversation about what did people observe? Do people want to share anything? It becomes this really safe place for reflection and for emotions to bubble up and for people to feel safe to just share it. And that, and volunteers are part of that too. So we don't have, you're a volunteer and you're a participant. We are all sharing as equal human beings in this connection. And so it's an opportunity for people just to practice that being in community together and sharing in a really safe place what's going on for them.
I love that. Folks, I'm just going to summarize a few things for you because I know there are care partners watching. I'm intimately involved with them, and I know they're watching this morning. I want you to hear something about letting go. Letting go of your expectation of what this journey is going to mean to you or to the person that you're caring for. That's one. Acceptance. Acceptance of the here and now. This is it. You don't even have to measure it as bad or good. You know, we've been taught to do that since kindergarten. And I think that's like the worst thing that could probably happen to us other than telling us that we have to eat lunch at noon, because I don't get that one. But all of those things, you hear them as care partners and caregivers, because some folks are caregivers. But you don't really understand it until you let go of the grief and the pain that you're feeling from the diagnosis. Doesn't mean that you don't love anymore. It doesn't mean that you're not going to feel another level of grief and pain along the way, because it's a disease of loss. But when you can have moments of joy and connection along the way, Connected Horse is saying we're that conduit for that. And the horse's energy, the horse's heart, the horse's connection brings that together. So it's creating sort of this trinity, excuse my language for you non-believers, you know how I love you. I still love you, right? Because just because I use language you don't use, but this trinity of hope and connection. And you're not alone. I feel you, I see you, which in our world today, after the pandemic, many people, not just people living with dementia, are crying out for.
Yeah.
So I love this idea. Where do the horses come from, Nancy?
The horses come from barns. We have a horse rescue. We have a therapeutic riding barn. We have a hunter jumper barn that you've been to. It's a show barn. We have all kinds of horses. The horses are very happy to work with us. We have retired horses, which is another important thing. You know, they're in the sport horse world. They have a certain time. And so then they live. I had a horse pass recently at 32. People don't realize they live that long, but they kind of stop riding them in their 20s. And then they want to have purpose and be in relationship. They don't want to just live in a pasture. So we have horses, especially in our rescue barn in Calistoga. They have horses that have come from all these backgrounds and hurts and pains, and people are very interested in knowing the story of the horse and where it came from. We don't tell them till the end because we don't want them in their thinking mind. We want them to be processing and being with us in that Trinity part that you're talking about. But we have horses that are very eager to still work and be of purpose. And that resounds to me personally because older adults still want to have purpose and still have something that really makes them feel they're giving back in the world and have a reason to get up in the morning. We had one participant, the daughters brought her in our Nevada barn, and they said, "Oh yeah, mom, you know," they kind of like, the diagnosis is just, well, she doesn't know anymore. Well, that next week, the second week, that mom told the daughters how to get to the barn, told them how to turn, how to get there. And they saw their mom in a whole new light, you know, and she just wanted to be at the horse. And it's not like going to the doctor. They're up and ready and early. They arrive early all the time to come. They want to be there. So these horses want to be with us as well. And we're giving the horse a purpose as well as our older adults. And that is a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. I want you all right now to write down Connected Horse. I want you to write it down because this is what, and again, you know that I never ask you to support any organization that I am not intimately, meaning I've been there, I've done something with them, I know them. I don't do that because I don't believe in that. I don't endorse stuff. Okay. So at the end of the day, though, Connected Course comes here. I see them. I see what they bring to Alzheimer's services, or for those of you that call us ASEB to ASEB. They do that every single week during the pandemic, and as we came out of the pandemic, excuse me, and they're coming. Did they change the day from time to time because the volunteer has changed their schedule? But they walk in this door, or not my door, but the door downstairs, and they become a part of our team. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between an ASEB staff member and a Connected Horse volunteer that's here. They know the staff by name, they know the participants by name, they know all of our systematic brouhaha, and they walk in here and they bring joy.
Yeah.
And they bring connection, and people who don't even know the names of the volunteers, because we've had consistent volunteers, but they go, the lady's here, or this person is here with the saddle. The saddle, they try to explain to me if I come down. I'm not down there that much, but I do try to visit. So I want you both, because I don't want to run out of time, talk about that program, the program where I'm going to call it the visiting program, for a lack of a better word in my head at the moment, and just why you do it.
Yeah, well, that came out of necessity of us really wanting to be connected, where we said two things. One is Nancy and we always had a hard time saying no. So if somebody wanted to come to the barn and say they were in a walker or wheelchair, and not all barns can accommodate that. And we're like, but how can we bring what we know in terms of connection and using our senses to communicate and engage with people? And then the pandemic hit, and we're like, what are we going to do? How do we stay connected with our own participants? We can't just go home and say, okay, we'll wait till this is over. So we took all of our learning, working with the horses, and we developed what we call Barn Connection at Home engagement kit. And that's the pieces of the saddle and the pictures of horses and the meditations, and we put it all in a kit. And one of the things that you said that I want to make sure that I don't forget is that sometimes we forget to play. Like, caregiving is a serious business. Having a diagnosis of dementia is a serious issue, medical issue. And we still have to look for joy and play. And so this kit, again, gives people opportunity to get quiet, to remember to breathe. I got to tell you a story about a horse and breathing when I'm done with this, but and to engage and have some fun. And so we have in this kit, we have packets of hay, we have pieces of saddles, pieces of fly masks, we have sensory engagement around photographs of horses with open-ended questions around, what do you think? We go on a journey, like where do you think this horse is going? What's happening over here? I know that when Isabel comes, she brought her riding hats, and I saw pictures of, people wanting to put on her riding hat and just hitting it, and the sound of what it sounds like of the helmet that she brought for riding, and just that curiosity and play, it just gets people thinking. And you don't have to know a thing about a horse. We have a volunteer who's like, every week she's like, okay, I don't know about horses, but that's where the internet is my friend, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to come share that. And so this curiosity and learning happens. And again, it's like, get rid of that role of I'm an expert, or this is how you work with people that have a dementia diagnosis. It's like, no, we're going to go be with them and us, and we're going to play, and we're going to learn from each other and laugh and be with. And that's really what the kit's all about. How do you get rid of the role of what am I, and the uncomfortableness of what am I supposed to do, and just connect? Yeah. And it seems so simple, but we lose that ability. And certainly in the pandemic,
Mhm.
We lost that ability. And so, you know, there's good things that happen out of tragedy. And I think that us bringing this kit, so we have an at-home kit that's one-on-one, and we have the at community kit that we've really practiced and honed at ASAB, like sort of what
Yeah.
works, what doesn't, how do we do this? And so now that's in people's homes and at other communities, and other adult day programs, thanks to the work that we did with you.
Yes.
Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm sorry, Nancy. I
I
wanted
was saying that it
to.
came out of, Paula and I with our own horses during the pandemic would just do like Sunday videos and put things up about, what this is and what we're doing. And we watched all these families that were in our herd, we call them. They would follow us and we're like, oh my gosh, it's like 5 minutes, on that we're putting this up. And
Yeah.
then Paula's brainchild was, let's make a basket, a kit, so we can send to them during the pandemic. And then from there, it grew to be able to go to you and to really hone that. And now we're so proud because next week we won the Innovations in Caregiving Grant Award, and we will be given that award next week at the American Society on Aging Conference. So thank you so much, because it came out of just wanting to stay connected with people and give them this time. And now it's turned into a whole nother service that can help people in residential care, at home, in adult day programs. And we can take them on the whole journey, not just in the beginning. And that means a lot to us because we just felt like we need to do more. They want to still come to the barn. How can we adapt to be able to do that? And this is the way.
I love Connected Horse, friends. You know that I do. This is not the first time that you've heard. Now you've met some of the faces. They have some incredible volunteers. A dear, dear friend and colleague, a sister friend, Judy, who I've known for over 20 something years.
Mhm.
Yeah, wow. Okay. But I'm still beautiful. Yes. Okay.
Likewise.
All right. Um, and when she went to Connected Horse and she was telling me, and I had heard more, I had heard, but to see it in action. So I'm going to invite you, if you're local, give us a call here at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay. If you'd like to see how the kit is used in our program, give us a call. You can come here and observe. You just need to make sure I know, because we're still in pandemic protocol here. So I need to know. And if you want to get connected with Connected Horse, which I pray that you do, either as a donor or a volunteer or as a care partner and loved one who might need these services, I'm in the process of writing a testimonial that I haven't been able to get to, but now I've written the whole thing on my notes because I needed to sit down and do this. But this is what I want to say to Paula and Nancy. And I want you to hear this, friends, because this is how we give people flowers for actually being courageous. It is not easy to write a grant. You know that in my world, I write them all the time. And every day I write one, or every time I write one, I put my blood, sweat, and tears in it because I vision the people that I'm writing about. I vision the program. I know that Paula and Nancy are the same way. I send it off in the hopes. I send it off with great vibes. I even do a dance here. If you know my staff, they'll tell you every time I send a grant out, I do a little dance, sending it on its way. But when you do something where you're not being paid for it, and you're collecting another group of like minds around you and they're not being paid for it, it is, and I'm not even going to call it a labor of love, you're living out your passion. But that doesn't mean we don't need money. I always believe money is a tool. I've never been a lover of money because I see how it corrupts the mind and spirit. But it is a tool. And we all need it to live, and we all need it to manifest the wonderful things. So help Connected Horse wherever you can, whenever you can. Put them on your annual giving list. They are on mine now. They weren't before, but they are now. So so what? Do it now. It's okay.
Thank
You
you.
don't have to do it. We always live in the past, going, "Wait, go forward. Just put them on your list, okay?" And it's a great way to honor a birthday, a granddaughter, grandson. It's a great way to honor their lives by giving a gift in honor of or in memory of someone who has passed away. The other thing that Paula and Nancy brought up for me as we come to a close is ageism. As I am aging fabulously in this world, I feel ageism not when people encounter me because I don't look my age, but it's once they find out my age. Then their whole language and and everything. And the first thing they ask me is, when are you going to retire?
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you know me well enough to even ask me that? Like, I'm trying to think. But do you see how the horses move from one aspect of their life where they are laborers, they're laboring and they're working really hard. They're wonderful, wonderful creations. But then they move into a time where they're still connecting and giving to the world, and it's still work in the sense of doing and giving from. That's how I plan to live my life. So if you're out there and you've asked me that question, stop it. And if you ask it of other people as they're aging in place, remember the horse. They're not just one thing. They weren't born for one thing. They were born to create until the day that they are no longer able to create, whether it be through death or some other reason. So stop putting people in pigeonhole spots just because they're older, because there's some great people out there creating great things. Nancy and Paula and Connected Horse are in our community, not that far away. They would love to talk to you, present to your organization, or if you're a corporation and you'd like to become a corporate sponsor, they'd love to come and talk to you. Also, if you are a care partner, caregiver, family member that is looking with and for someone with living with dementia, this is an ideal program for them to come out of that dark sort of shadow space that people with dementia sometimes go. So before we leave you today, I want to give Paula and Nancy a few minutes just to say one last thing to you of whatever it is, whether it's a short story or just your feeling about Connected Horse or just what you want people to know. So take it away, Nancy.
Well, I want to hear Paula's breathing story, I think, first, because I want her to have enough
Okay.
time, and then I'll jump in after her. Do you want to
Sure.
share?
Yeah, sure. This is what's so hard, right? You want to just words fall short when we talk about this program. And so I think anyone who wants to come experience, please give us a call. You have our website, connectedhorse.org, where you can connect with us. But the breathing piece, it happens so often, and you just go back to thinking what you think about when you think about a horse, and you have this majestic 1,200-pound animal. And when people forget to breathe, whether it's a volunteer, participant, a horse handler, always happens. The horse with that big belly just takes a big deep breath in, and we're like, someone's forgetting to breathe. And it is, it is true. It's like, oh yeah, like in this world, if we can just give ourselves the grace of remembering to get centered in our body and take a deep breath and breathe, it is that's a powerful tool. That is our life force, right? Just remembering to breathe in and breathe out. And that simple but sort of funny and playful thing that happens with our horses all of the time is just a good reminder. We tell people at the barn, you have this now in your body, and so when you're really stressed or you feel like you're disconnected with yourself or what's happening around you, if you can just remember, come back here and visualize that beautiful horse and that big belly breathing in and out and coming out those nostrils, you'll be in a better spot.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes.
And I'd like to say that, we focus so much on debility instead of ability, and there's so many abilities left, and we shouldn't let any type of diagnosis, no matter what it is, define us. We've seen that so many times at Connected Horse, and my favorite stories are when the well-meaning care partner comes out and brings to her husband, mostly women do this, honey, here's your cane. Here's your cane. Don't forget your cane. And then they're leading the horse and they say, honey, hold my cane. I'm going to lead this horse. And they're walking without a cane or something. And the spouse sees them as, oh my gosh. Instead of debility, they realize ability with safety, but focusing on what people still have, not what's gone. What focusing on the abilities that remain and not what's gone is so incredible. And that's why this experience, Paula and I, every time we think, oh my gosh, where's this money going to come from? Where's this?
I know.
And then something else opens up and we say, all right, it's meant to be. This beautiful universe we live in brings it to us, because this is a spiritual passion project for us. And we just continue, and somehow the energy comes or something shows up, and we are just so blessed and honored for that. And just to see what we can do to change that course of aging, change the ageism that you're speaking of, and change the way that we see ourselves as we age, no matter what diagnosis put on us. And the horses are our teachers. They're the ones that teach that, and we're so grateful.
Well, friends, I can't tell you. I've been waiting for this day to interview Paula Hertel and Nancy Schier Anzelmo from Connected Horse. When Felicia told me that we finally got a date, I was very excited.
Thanks to Val, our volunteer.
Yeah, thanks to Val. Yeah, thanks to Val, who is a dear, sweet
Yes.
human being as well. There has been nobody from Connected Horse that hasn't been. And I want to say to you, as we come to an end now, and every Friday, that's the moment, like, oh, it's over already. That when we connect from the spirit, from the heart, and this is not woo-woo, this is scientific. If you know that kind of person and you need the science on it. When we connect with our wholeness and with our openness, then the divisions that may have been perpetrated to us and in our lives, they soon fall off. When you smile at another person, when you say good morning, when you, as my father used to tip his hat to the neighbor walking down the street, or when he was leaving his home, or just to wave. Like, I have a neighbor that lives too far down the street, but we leave around the same time. And so I wave to him, he waves to me. I don't even know that man's name. But we have begun to see that we need a time where we are connected in a way that is higher than all this dialogue and how many degrees I have on my wall, how big my house is, what kind of car, what clothes I wear. It's about being connected from inside out. And that's what Connected Horse is talking about for people with dementia. And they're bringing these incredible, my favorite horse is Moon.
I have a beautiful photograph of you and Moon, like you are staring into each other's souls and just quiet. It's beautiful.
And Michelle Pope's never quiet. So yeah. So it was amazing. And Moon will live in my heart forever. When I meditate in the morning, I meditate about all the dogs that I've rescued and the ones that are going to be euthanized because I can't rescue them. And when I went, and the horses, because there's something about dogs and horses for me. Not saying I don't love other human creatures, because I do, but those two have a different space in my spirit. So I want to thank Paula and Nancy for coming from Connected Horse. I'm going to put my little icon up so you can tell how I feel about it. And down here, I always do that. Felicia is going to do the magic and put all the connections in and all the stuff. Yeah, Felicia does that. And as we end, I want you to think good vibes for Paula and Nancy. And if you can help them in any way, shape, or form to expand their programming, I think I'm going to be thinking of ways to help, maybe with a dual grant or something like that, because I feel that strongly about it. But I'm going to take a moment, as I always do. Paul and Nancy, bear with me before I close. If you are out there right now experiencing anxiety, depression, and a sense of loss in your life, the suicide hotline is there for you. It's 988. You know that's how I close. I've closed, I don't even know how many podcasts this way. I want you to know I've been there. Honestly, been there. And the thing is, somebody held my hand through it. Total stranger. And that's why I'm sitting here now living in a space of joy. So what I'm saying to you is don't do it. Get a phone. I don't care if you got to go into a Starbucks and say, please, somebody let me use your phone because I'm feeling despair. There'll be a good Samaritan there. Some of people will stare at you because that's what people do, but there will be one person in there that will hear you. And dial 988 and get the help that you need, because you know what you're thinking? You're thinking the world would be better off without you. I'm here to tell you, no, it won't. No, it won't. So thank you so much, my family of Life is a Sacred Journey. Join me in welcoming Paula and Nancy from Connected Horse. Do talk to them down there. And we'll make sure they get their messaging, and come back next Friday morning at 8 a.m. Go out and pet a dog, pet a cat, pet a horse. I'm going to add that. Pet a
Yes.
horse.
That's right.
And
I go horse.
because you know what? This is it. Let's enjoy it, and let's make it the best we can. Thank you, Paula and Nancy, for being here. They're going to stay on for a minute so I can thank them personally, but have a great weekend. Be the change you want to see. Stop waiting on somebody to make the world happen for you, because guess what? It's all about you. You be the change. All right. Peace out, friends.